Here, Terry Gobert, 2026 ABCA Hall of Fame inductee, but heading into 39th season at Jasper High School, six-time Indiana State champ, fifth coach in Indiana history, to reach the 912 win plateau, but highest winning percentage among active coaches in Indiana now, but went in the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame in 2007, and actually you and Nick were on the podcast with me. I had to dig in, so if you want to go back in and listen to that father and son episode, I think it's 2020, so it doesn't seem like that long ago, but
yeah, that's crazy.
It was. So Terry, we go way back. Thanks for jumping on with me.
Hey, Ryan, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having on. You're the busiest man in show business, so I'm glad we can make this work.
What has changed about baseball in Southern Indiana for you over the course of your career?
I think one, the facilities are so much better, just everywhere. Indiana has some outstanding, not just Southern Indiana, but when I look back when I started, it was amazing where you'd play a baseball game. And one thing we've had, now we play Evansville because we're in the SIAC, where we just played, say, Memorial or for a while there, or Central. And you have a lot of coaches for a long time there that stuck around. You see that continuity that you don't always find in baseball, especially in Indiana. And one, the facilities. Two, the baseball in general for me it used to be playing for your team, playing for your school. That was it. When you give them your uniform, and at Jasper now we're very fortunate. They probably get like 5 different tops and 3 different pants and 2 different hats or 3. And it doesn't match up to their travel gear they've been getting since they were 8 years old. Where's my spikes with my initials? Where's my name on my glove? And I think we fight a lot of that. It used to be pure and simple. And my goal is to play for my high school. And that part of the game has changed a lot. You see a lot more of that individuals showcasing in the old days. I mean, you grew up around some hard-nosed coaches, and that's just what you saw. It was your high school baseball team, and then some guys had nowhere to play if it weren't for Legion Ball. So the biggest thing for me is the changes in facilities, so many upgrades, so many more lighted fields at the high school level, and also just the kids. One of my most difficult thing is you got to get them to buy in just for high school baseball. Yeah. It'll take care of you. You'll be showcased. You play up in Indianapolis under the lights. I've had many a guy leave the state finals with scholarship offers that had nothing going into that weekend. So it still does exist, but that's the biggest change for me, Ryan.
What are the similarities? It seems like Indiana, especially in the Southern Indiana region, it still seems like players are impacting at the college and pro level, just like they always have been coming out of Southern Indiana.
Yeah, I think we have a better climate than the northern part of the state. It still is. There's so many more indoor facilities and things like that. You see, but for example, I got to coach Scott Rolen 4 years early in my career. How many kids are 6'4", can really hoop it up, score 30 a game if they want, and they love and want to pursue baseball? Phil Kendall, 6'4", drafted 5th or 6th round, loved baseball. Neil Giesler played at South Carolina, 6'5", could score 30 a game in hoops, loved baseball, went on to play. So I think we have a pocket around here where our high school baseball and just baseball itself, a lot of kids want to keep playing, but there are a lot of kids from Indiana. Sometimes I don't even catch it. We're trying to promote it better because you turn on the World Series and here's a kid from Bloomington North coming in to pitch, and most people would go like, no idea. I think I wish that every time I see somebody debut at the big league level, I just think there's some high school coach right now. He doesn't need credit. He's not going to get credit, but they're really proud that this kid is able to make it to that level and pursue his dream. So I just think there's a good emphasis on baseball around here. I just think it's coached so much better. It's the tournament now. It used to be you might have a couple programs in each sectional that you're like, okay. Now I go into a sectional. I feel like every school works at it. Every school has a coach with passion, and I think that's improved so much. It makes it more difficult, but yet makes it more rewarding too.
Is youth baseball still good? I always felt like that was maybe the thing about that area is that the youth baseball for me was good. I felt like the instruction was good, and I felt like it was competitive.
Well, here's what's changed. I was at the IU game yesterday, tailgating, and a family from Fisher.
Shout out
Fisher's
IU.
Indiana.
They went to being just okay to really good now. Shout out IU football. Holy cow.
I've been going for 50 years, Ryan. The part I know it's crowded, it's expensive, and people left at halftime because they were bored because they were beating UCLA. What is wrong with these people? But my point was, I was talking to them. They're from Fishers, Indiana, and I just started out. They have a son that's 7th grade, and I said, "What options do you have? What can he play youth? How does it work?" And see, we're the last of the pocket. We have Little League Baseball. I've been on the board for almost at least 35 years. I'm involved daily. My son is 30 years old or whatever. I have nothing to do except that's the hand that feeds us. And there's not any programs around. I mean, you go right to state, and I'm really, really concerned about baseball. I think if we hang in there, it's going to come back because you need that mix. And one thing we did years ago, I want to say about 20, it was at least 20 years ago, right? 25 years ago, travel kind of got introduced to Jasper on a limited level, special kids. And we're like, we got to make a decision here. We can just say no travel, league only, or we can adapt. And so the biggest thing that's happened in our league is there's a lot of kids that travel as well, and they may not pitch in our league, but we're still offering that, and it needs to be available. I feel like, and this is not a slam against tennis, but you got to have some money to play tennis, or somebody's got to do all the lessons, all the tournaments, and we need to keep baseball available for every kid. I mean, you think it'd be an inner city problem, but all the area towns around here have dropped their Little League. They don't even have it. So kids got to get on travel. And then my concern is, I talk to our teams, our youth all the time, and I say, I'd rather have a kid, say you're 10 years old, I'd rather have him go to bed wishing he could play more baseball than dreading playing baseball this weekend. So I think it's a big concern, and I think baseball's trying hard to make it work. But I'm really proud. I mean, I think we have 8, 11, and 12-year-old teams still local. To me, baseball is being able to ride your bike to the field, watch the games, no matter who's playing that night, and then win or lose, go to Dairy Queen. And we still do that at the high school level.
How are you managing the workload then at the youth level? I think that's our biggest concern here too. Is there's no way to track if a kid is pitching for his travel team as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, and then they do come play the rec league, and they also pitch. That's always been our biggest concern here with the youth side is there's really no way to track that. So how are you communicating that to your parents and the youth players that, hey, if they pitch for this team, they're not coming back and pitching for the other team?
But we started with, they actually filled out a form from the travel weekend. I threw, not innings, we had to work on this. How many pitches did you throw?
Thank you.
Well, I was slow to develop that myself. You know what I'm saying? Because for years, you just brought up Little League, if you had 2 horses. My son, Nick Gobert, and Mark Geisler both played Division I baseball as pitchers and players, and they were on the same Little League team. One threw 3 innings, the other one threw the next 3, and then the next Thursday, whatever. And they're supposed to start out with an actual form, and they give it to their coach. And then it became communicate, verbal. So they go over our meeting in the Little League and preseason. You are to ask going into the week, how many pitches you throw? How many innings did you throw? What day did you throw? Did you throw a bullpen? And the best thing we have going for us is so many of our youth coaches are former players of our program. I mean, that's the beauty of a town of, I think we're 17,000 now. But, one of my proudest things is to just go out to walk around the fields. And now we have 4 lighted Little League fields. It used to be 1, and just walk by and hear them practice using the same terminology. You know how it is, almost like a dad. If you live long enough to hear your kids quote you and mean it, it's a great feeling. So it is a concern. It is a problem because we get at the high school level. We in Indiana now we can have fall baseball 2 times a week for a period. It just ended a week ago, and you can go 2 hours of baseball twice a week, and you never even think about this. We don't live scrimmage, we don't pitching, but we scrimmage with a pitching machine, or we want to throw pins. We want to see what the kid looks like. And Brian Kirkhoff's our pitching coach, and Brian is a smart man. He'll say, "When did you throw last?" "Well, I haven't pitched. Well, I threw 50 on my lessons yesterday." That type of thing. That you don't just think about games, but then they go to pitching coaches, they go to specialists. They go to showcases. Hey, coach, I'm going to showcase. When is it? Sunday. When's the last time you even threw a ball? About 5 weeks ago. and I thought we had a pretty good program, and I thought we communicate pretty well, but it's still out there. It just amazes me sometimes. And it happened to my own son. I thought I kept a close watch on him, and I only got to, remember the days of coaching, you just can't get away. So I go to watch him in this tournament, and it was in Greensburg, but it's, 2-hour haul. And I got to see him on Sunday, and another dad came up and said, probably ought to get him out there. And I said, what do you mean? He's throwing the ball well. He said, late through Friday and through Saturday. And so I went down. I try to stay out of things up to that point. It's tough. And I said, hey, anyway, they explained to me that he said he felt fine. I said, well, he's 13 years old. He could be cut off at the elbow, and he could sling it. And the point they gave me, well, if we win this, we're in the championship game. I said, how about you pull him, and I'll buy you a band-sized trophy, bigger than life, 6-foot trophy. Even if you get runner-up, you can take that home. But so you would think as a coach, you would know, and it just happens. Kids are so competitive, and they don't communicate very well because they don't want to say no at any age. Now, I'm not throwing that guy under the bus. He's a good man. He gave a lot of time for our kids. But
that's what a lot of the youth coaches go off of as well. He told me it was fine.
Yeah, exactly. Every time. And it's a balance for us, Brian, at this level, because you got some kids that when you played in the 90s, they believe they're fine, and they would go through anything. You have kids today, they make
John Ambrose would have taken the ball every game.
Yeah.
If Coach Merkel would have let John Ambrose pitch every game, John Ambrose would have pitched every game. I was never upset
when he wasn't on the mound. It never upset me if he wasn't on the mound. But you got to watch, because I told kids, the difference, is it pain or is it just soreness, as you throw? And so the analogy I always ask kids, because I love multiple sport kids, and I say, okay, when you squat, maybe you haven't squatted as much, and football workouts start and you squat, and you come back on Tuesday and you're sore, and on Wednesday, do you tell the coach, hey, I'm sore, I can't squat today? No. I said, well, we're in the same boat. Now, if it continues to hurt, then let's back off. But that seemed to resonate more with kids than any example of trying to explain the difference, between. But I'm fortunate I've had kids that played at a high level, and they're helping with our program. Andy Noblet was a heck of a pitcher. Your era, Phil Kendall, and they've both been my pitching coaches. And I'll ask them, when you threw the ball, how many starts did you have where you felt great? It'd be 1 or 2 a year. The days of U of E with your dad. I doubt if he asked him if he needed a massage, so he felt good. Do you get what I'm saying? But you never feel great. But there's a difference between just being tough, pushing a little bit, and pain. And at a young age, they have no clue, no idea.
What has switching to the SIAC done for y'all? Do you like the switch?
You know what I think? Yeah, I think one thing, and we were in the Big 8, and there's some good teams in the Big 8. I mean, there's been a couple state championship teams in that for years. But at the end, it was nicknamed the six-pack. There was only 6 of us in the Big 8, kind of like the Big 10, a little confusing. But we won, I think it was, we played, 5 conference games, and we won 35 in a row or something. And I'm not, it's still good competition, and we would save our top pitching then to throw that weekend. I really felt when we came out of COVID and we won in Indiana, as you know, you have 4 classes, and we had bumped up. We were the smallest school in the biggest class, and we ended up winning the state. And I really felt a lot of it was from playing in I call it the SIAC. I guess we're not allowed to down there, Southern Indiana Athletic Conference, but I learned a little more style. You go against Jeremy Jones, they're going to be fast, and their mouths talk a lot more in the SIAC than they did in the Big 8, if that makes sense. Big 8's rural schools. You just kind of get after it, and you nod.
That's an Evansville culture thing.
And that's what I could not believe it.
And smart chirps too. Like, it's not. I would try to tell guys, I'm like, there's a difference between a chirp and now I think it's just stay with your own team. But back then, that just was the culture. Is guys talked a lot of smack to each other.
I was stunned, but my point's going to be it prepared us for the 4A state tournament. It wasn't anything. When you play in the smaller class, if you have one kid mouthy on the other team, you're like, and then it's just nonstop. And so I thought that adjustment, and there's good coaches in that conference, and there's some real talent. Just look at the draft picks that have been coming out of that conference alone. But that prepared us, that style of baseball, that more aggressive, prepared us for versus, maybe some of our games have been more like slow pitch softball. You just go up, try to slug it out, get some runs, and you had to be prepared for more stuff, more. You go into 4A, it wasn't a huge shift to me, except deeper arms, deeper staffs. You can have some real studs in 1A, 2A, 3A, but, we played in the state title of the game this year in 3A, and they run 5 guys in a row, upper 80s, 90s out of the bullpen, and none of them play. None of them play position. And so I thought that prepared us a lot for that type of baseball. And by the time we went through the tournament in 4A, I felt it really did prepare us. I gave them credit right there on the spot.
Now that you've switched to turf, what are some of the differences between turf maintenance and natural maintenance?
You know what? When it's early, nothing shows up. You just, it's brand new. And as Coach Howard said, it looks good now. Take a look at it in 3 or 4 years, all the worn out spots. And I'm the same thing. No one took more pride in their field than I did. I mean, I got a bigger kick out of being the only school in Southern Indiana playing on a given night. I don't know what it is about having a field. And I was really worried about that. This is our first year, this past year, to have a turf field. And you lose that, we spent more practice time fixing the mound and home and the third base and no lips. And I just lived up there. And I was really worried about that. And it is a concern because kids just show up. You turn the lights on, put the bases out. The first practice, Ryan, we always tell them, all right, I always say, put the field to bed. That's my term for you level it, tarp it, drag it, do all this. And they were on us in like 18 seconds. Well, that's usually when we wrap up practice, talk to the staff. We got like a 15-minute window of saying, what did you think? What did you think? And there they were, just waiting for wisdom. And I was like, holy cow. But the greatest thing for me is practice. And not enough people talk about that. We missed 0 practices last year to rain. In fact, Chris McIntyre, good friend of mine that coached at New Albany, excellent coach. And he said, you got to watch it, Terry, or you'll practice every day. And you don't realize sometimes those rain, get in the weight room, quick little throw, whatever, and get out of there, just are great mentally. And he was spot on. You actually have to watch it but it's just, there was one day last week, it rained Monday night, all day Tuesday. It stopped at 3:05 and 3:15 we're on our field practicing. That part is just blessed, but I still don't like it.
You still have a practice field that's natural though, correct?
Yes, we do. And it's going to be the best kept JV field in the world because I don't know what to do with myself as far as we took on a project. If I can go there real quick. We are friends of Jasper baseball. We've been around since mid 90s and we just do things for baseball. It's a 501c. And we've done a lot of projects. We built our field house up there that, we have 4 tunnels and locker room. And it's a beautiful facility, all donated by private, industry and people and built by volunteers. So we added to our field. I talked about it at our banquet. It's just been a goal of mine I wanted a turf wiffle ball field. I put a wiffle ball field up. It's been 4 years ago across the hall. It's Labor Day weekend, and my wife gave me what are you going to do today? And I said, I'm going to put a wiffle ball field up. She made it very clear it wasn't going to be in our yard anymore. We've had 2 houses in Jasper. They both have had unique wiffle ball fields. Kids from the neighborhood live there. We truck in lighting from all over the world. And I said, no, let's put it across the street. The school owns the land across the street. I literally live across from my JV field. I take a scooter to work or a golf cart. It's a great life. So I put this field up and we went for a walk. She goes, who's going to use this field? And I'm like, I don't know anybody. I got some bats and balls. We come back from our walk about an hour later and there's 9 bicycles. This is around COVID. Kids actually got back and they go, hey coach, whose is this? I go, I don't know. They go, can we use it? I said, yeah. And I just looked at my wife. I said, well, I guess that's going to. So now even the National Guard uses this field. I come home. I was in my hot tub at 1 a.m. one time, and some kids pulled their pickup trucks up, and I yelled at them, just joking. And they're like, is that all right? I said, yeah, we don't have any neighbors. There's woods around it. So this leads into our banquet 2 years ago. I just said, a year ago, I said, I have this dream. I want, before I'm done, I wanted outfield bleachers. I want a party deck out and left. And I said, I want a turf wiffle ball field that anyone and everyone can use. And about 3 weeks later, one of the grandparents pulled up. He said, how serious are you about this? So very. And his family helped get it started. But Ryan, we have, and it's open I lock it up at night and I open it at 6 a.m. We leave bats, balls out there. It's 95 feet down the line. It's 103 to center. The Moats group built it. They gave us a good break. It was all volunteers from then out. And then Holzman Electric came along and said, well, you need lights on this. And they we have our own separate lighting system for it. And sometimes I just cry. I just look at it because wiffle ball to me is everything about baseball, youth, growing up. I have my groupies that are there every day, all summer long. Some of them are never going to make it in high school baseball, but they're having their time of their life. So I didn't mean to run on that on you. But
no, it's awesome. And that's a story that people need to hear, because I think that's part of impacting your community in any way possible. And you've done that every step of the way along your journey, as you've impacted that community every step of the way.
Well, I fell into a great place. 1985. I came down to interview. I've never been here. I was at DePaul University. I was a graduate assistant in basketball under Mike Steele, great coach. Ed Meyer, 35 years, head baseball coach, under Coach Meyer for 2 years. And I took a JV job at Greencastle, where I'm from. And John Fallis, just one of the most fundamental coaches I've ever worked under. And Fallis got contacted this is before email and everything, Jerry Brewer, the legendary Hall of Famer, at one time the Indiana leader in wins, looking for a coach. Came down here to interview in my 69 cheeseburger, we called it, special deluxe. I had a bucket of water because it would overheat every so many miles, no air conditioning. I stopped at Long John Silver's to put on my shirt and tie. Never been to Jasper in my life. I walk in there, Ryan, and they have Miller Lite on draft at Long John Silver's. And I, not making a sub, I'm tying my tie going, you have found your home. I meet with Don Noblet, and Coach Noblet's in the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. I coached his grandsons, his son. And the second question he asked me, all the way down, I was going over my philosophy of education from IU, School of Ed. Is this. The second question he asked me, he said, do you drink beer? I go, well, I nailed it. I said on a hot day after mowing the yard, he goes, well, you turn one down here, you've turned down a friend. And I knew I'm not a big beer drinker. I am, but that's not why I came here. But I knew I wanted to be in a community that works hard, plays hard. It was all German Catholic, just I've never seen a community work so hard at anything. And the beautiful thing about here is if it's for the kids, they're going to support it. I've had people hand me a check for $1,000 or more and say, I don't really care for you, but if it's going to the kids, I want to help. And you've been there, right? It doesn't matter. Sometimes when you got to raise money, you got to take a butt chewing and nod and just say, yes. So I bet from your days of coaching, your favorite donor, mine is a grandparent that has all granddaughters. They want to help out baseball. I'm willing to listen. And so it's just been a great setup from day one.
I think I learned that from my dad. He built 2 stadiums by hanging out in establishments.
Yeah. Oh,
he did. He built 2 stadiums hanging out in establishments, and I raised more money than anybody in that Macomb area because of hanging out in establishments with people.
Well, I've heard, I've learned more baseball after everything shut down. Now you have, I'm drawing a blank, the clinics at night, the
hot stoves.
Thank you. Hot stove to me is Evansville, Indiana, some good old boys from Legion Ball. And that group, you could do a whole podcast just on their impact on baseball in the area. But I learned more from all these clinics at every level, an ABCA clinic, after hours. And don't get me wrong, I'm people laugh at me, but I'm usually in the front, and I usually just bring like some kind of energy bar and a couple things of water. And I just stay in there, and I go to every session because here's what I've learned. When you read it and you think, yeah, I want to see that. I want to see, I won't name any names, but a legendary pitcher. And all he did is drop some stories, but he never taught you anything. And then you got a guy, I've never heard of him. It looks and it's phenomenal. Yeah. So I've been surprised more times than I've been disappointed by the speakers. And it's just the way to learn. And that's the way to learn any setting. That's how I learn, the ABCA is how I learned to fundraise. It's how I learned what kind of practice gear do you have? What do you buy the kids? What do you provide? What do they do? How do you raise money? I've met so many people there. They don't even know my name. I guarantee you, because I ask a lot of questions, and I'll leave a conversation sometimes. I go, I don't think that guy even asked me where I'm from, but I think I know everything about him. And that's what I want to do. I just want to gain as much as I can. And that's the greatest place to do it.
Would that be your tip for taking over for a legend? Because you took over for a legend at Jasper of diving into the community. That's the old quote. It's like, don't follow the guy.
Yeah.
Like now
No,
you
you know
are the
what?
guy because you are the guy now, but is that one of your tips for taking over somebody that's a legend, is trying to immerse yourself into the community?
Yeah, I think it's easier to follow a legend than it is. Okay, Ray
That's
Howard.
interesting to me.
Ray Howard is Hall of Fame. He won over 80% of his games. He took a program that had been strong, and we went to the finals of 67, 68, the first 2 years of the tournament. Then it became who wants a job when Mr. Noblet got out of it. And Ray made it all about baseball. I would not be coaching baseball. I came down here for football. I wanted to be a basketball coach. It's never happened yet, but I came down here for football. I found out I wasn't supposed to double up. Football, their number one enemy at Jasper was basketball and baseball and all the other. That's the way Coach Brewer did it, the old school, And I learned so much from Ray. I didn't know the game could be coached. I just thought, good luck hitting this 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and that was it, And I wouldn't be a good coach, and I wouldn't be a baseball coach if I didn't work under Ray for 2 years. So my mom asked me, we made it to state my fourth year, 91. We got beat. Somebody tore up their tickets sitting right by my parents. And they said, I'm getting tired of coming up here and getting beat. And my dad didn't say anything other than, you should be proud you're coming up here. But then my mom asked me, because I was still single at the time, she goes, how can you coach when they expect so much? I said, Mom, I'd rather be somewhere where they expect to win than just accept losing or expect to lose. That would be even worse. So my point, not only about following Ray, was fundamentals. I didn't have to have a spring break policy. You weren't going anywhere. I was like laid back compared to Ray. And I felt the same thing with Coach Brewer, and my friend Tony Aarons took over. And I said, Tony, it's a great situation because you can make it even better, and their expectations are high. And to me, that's how you look at it. Somebody follows me. I think my strength, Ryan, is I'm not afraid to sit in public. You're with your wife or some friends, and somebody comes up and want to talk. I don't take it as an insult. I mean, they get the cell phone out and they tell me how great their grandson's going to be, and he's 5. He's 5. And I go, yeah, I hope I can hang on that long. Somebody says, doesn't that bother you? I said, no, I'm glad they care enough about baseball. So it doesn't bother me. I've been chewed out. I've been, I'm not afraid to take heat, but I was 5-8, and I benched my 2 best players who had colleges coming to look at them because their attitude wasn't good. And people say to me now, well, yeah, you can get away with that. Well, I did it when I was 25, 6 years old and 5-8 and a heck of a program. I got beat my first 3 years. It's nothing about it, but the area. It was Pike Central, Springs Valley, and Bar Reef, 3 small communities that we're not supposed to lose to, right? I got hate mail. I got told, this is the wrong guy. You just got to believe in yourself. But I did it the way I thought was right from the beginning, and anybody can do that. Now, you can't come in 25 years old and just, demand respect and power. You have to earn it. But I really think it's like anything in life. You take it, you look at it and go, okay, here's some positives. Expectations are high. I don't have to tell them you're going to practice hard. I don't have to tell them, we're going to enforce the code of conduct. Back then, I don't even know if there was a written code of conduct. You know what I'm saying? In the late 80s, I'm sure there wasn't here. It was probably based upon how good are you. So I'm thankful for Ray. And I was hurt at the beginning. He wasn't around hardly at all. And later on, I learned he was trying to step back and just give me space and let me grow. And then when it really happened for me is in 1991, we did a huge renovation of our field. I mean, we all privately. We redid the bleachers. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. We put 750 down the right field line that didn't exist. We took 100, we had 1,500, 200, 2,000 seats back then, but we totally redid it. And I can remember sitting up there when everybody left, and I actually just sat there and drank a beer, and I felt for the first time, okay, I'm in charge of this program. And that took 5 years. I used to ask Ray, hey, okay, if I change the stirrups at lunch? And he'd say, do what you want. And it took me a while to feel that because I had a lot of respect for him, the community. And then Tim Nante, who was a heck of a coach, a Hall of Famer in Indiana, told me, he goes, now you understand how a farmer feels when he's out in his field. It's just, there's something about a baseball field once you put your stamp on it. Does that make sense? That's part of the reason I didn't like turf, because some strangers came from out of state and just laid down this putting green and left. I had to take ownership again and that's why I think we did the renovation outside the stadium, and we have a beautiful park named after our daughter. And it's just, my goal is before I leave here, when you come over, You should feel like you take your shoes off when you enter the gate. My goal is we 10 run you and you leave saying, I like that place. I like that program. That doesn't always work that way, but it's something to shoot for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We want to do it right. That's the one thing we do.
You've had some special players come through there, but how do you balance, Matt Mauck, Scott Rolen, you can go down the laundry list, but how do you balance those guys and how good they are, but also what's best for the program? You mentioned benching two of your best players. Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah. You make exceptions. Like, okay, Rolen graduated in 93, and we went to state when he was a sophomore in 91. That was my fourth year of coaching. So I had Scott my third, fourth, fifth, sixth year of coaching. I wasn't even married. I was, I think, 31 when he graduated or something. And I'm not going to, like, when he had guys there to watch him play, he got more swings in BP. I mean, we just explained it. He's wearing a cape. You're not. We're going to try to help him. You know what I'm saying? But I went ahead with my lineup. Scott started his career in right field, little known fact. And I basically said, would you like to play in the infield? And he said, yes, sir. I said, well, then start working. He always worked, but he had no idea. I'm not saying I made him, but when you have to keep an open mind and do that. But here's the beauty of Matt Mauck. We won the state in 96 thanks to Phil Kendall. He was our horse. Mauck was pitching, but Mauck followed Rolen. So I had Rolen for 3 years, Mauck for 3 years at third base. Mauck ends up signing with Michigan State, Nick Saban, football scholarship as our quarterback, played for the Cubs minor league for maybe 4 seasons. And he moved from third base his senior year to center field and had to become a pitcher for us. And at the state championship, he tops 90 mile an hour for the first time in his life. He wins Mr. Baseball, 1997. He wins the mental attitude award at the state finals. And he's drafted at 5th or 6th round. I'm sorry, I could look it up. But I meet with his parents, and his mom says, well, a lot of people said I hurt him in the draft, you moving him, but I guess it worked out all right. And it worked out all right. I'm like, I would take a son that's Mr. Baseball, mental attitude award winner, or, drafted. But not every parent will do that. The Rolens left him to me. You know what I'm saying? They kept an eye on him or whatever, but it's a different world now. If I had a guy that talented, I'd probably be dealing with, Colson Montgomery's an example, 5-6 miles away, and good contact, but they got people looking out for him a little more. But, good family wins. And I was just blessed because they did whatever we wanted. I made Scott bunt one time his senior year. And I go, after the game, I go, what, you wondering why I made you bunt? He said, yes, sir. He's kind of laughing. I go, I don't want anyone ever wearing Jasper uniform and saying they never bunted once in a single game. So that might have been my one victory there, but just tremendous people to coach, and they did anything for a team. I could go on and on about kids making switches and playing out of position, doing, I just don't worry. I don't think my job is to showcase kids for college. My job, and I believe this, and others feel differently, and I respect it. My job is to put the best, most competitive team I can out for Jasper High School, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to do anything I can help you. But Ryan, if you're just because you played second base in high school doesn't mean a college coach can't look at you and say, like, I've never played a shortstop and a pitcher ever. Ray didn't. I haven't. So for 49 years, we've never had a kid, take off his glove, get his pitching glove. Andrean did, and Mr. Baseball, and he got the final out in the state championship game against us. I'm not saying it can't be done, but we've always gone third base, first base, pitcher. Just, I want my center fielder, whenever possible, and my shortstop to be out there every pitch, every inning. So over the years, I've taken an average shortstop over a flashy, really good one every time. And it seemed to work out pretty good.
I like the acronym WIN. What's important now? In your career at this point, what's important now?
What's important to me, number one, is I want to go up there. People ask me all the time, not all the time, but a lot, how long are you going to go? I have zero goals as far as wins. I don't need 1,000. I couldn't tell you right now what we have. And I say we because there's a lot of people involved. So my number one goal is I'm never going to coach if I don't want to go up to practice. If I dread a practice, if I'm not excited to hand that lineup in and shake hands, with the other coach and the umpires, it's time for me to step aside. And I hope it doesn't come. One of the best things, I don't mean to get political, when COVID happened, it's not my fail forward moment, but it was like a trial retirement for me, because I was at that point in my career, and I missed it so much. I missed baseball, but I missed coaching. And so many other guys I talked to, I love it. I'm getting paid. I'm playing golf. And I'm talking about college coaches. I'm talking about some really good coaches. And every one of them just said, I think I'm not getting into aspects of COVID. I'm just saying the fact that we couldn't do it. Does it make sense? I don't ever want to downplay. But my point is, I missed it so much. I knew, hey, I'm not ready to get out. Does that make sense? So to me, I couldn't wait to get back at it. It's when something's taken away from you. It gives you the opportunity, I've never set a goal in retirement, even as a teacher. People, I think we have a rule 85 and combine your age and years experience. And I think I've blown that away. I think I'm at 104. So I think I could get my retirement, but I like walking in the door. There's so many people I teach with, Ryan, that I only got 17 more years. And I think I made a girl cry. She was
awful headspace to be in. Well, I love the fact, and I ask, how do you re-engage? You don't need to re-engage because you love it so much and you're so passionate about it. It's almost like you don't even have to worry about a re-engagement, where there are some people out there that do have to re-engage with all of it and do find that love and passion, but you just have it.
Well, that's what I told this girl. I wasn't I'm usually pretty direct, but I said, you need to get out now. You either need to figure this out or do yourself a favor. Number one, you're not a bad person, but if it's not for you, because teaching is not for everyone, and I'm not sure it's for me anymore.
I'm married to one. She's a special human being, because it is not for everybody.
No, it's not. It's not something you can just kind of fake. The kids can read it. Kids, if a dog can read human beings, a kid can do it. That's the way I kind of look at it. And I said, I don't mean this mean, but you're not helping the kids. You're not helping your family. You're not helping yourself. There's something better for you out there. I said, and I didn't meet somebody, they gave me the.
Yeah, but life is short. For somebody do you really want to punch the clock for the next 35 years and make yourself miserable every day going to a job that you don't really enjoy? I just don't see it. Life is way too short to spend any amount of time day after day of dreading doing something. You can't do that to yourself. Right. We all have situations we got to grind through.
Yes. Not sustained and not like you said, I have an expression. I said, you don't want to be one of those people that if you die first, they're going to put, I wish I had a bowl of ice cream. Unfortunately I take it to the hilt, but my point being, you've got to enjoy the prospect. You got to enjoy it. I mean, I just don't understand that part. It's not like everything's been smooth. And, if you grow and it's tough, you find out later, but they're making education difficult. I'll take a kid. I used to never send a kid to the office. I just handle it myself. I send him down there and he beats me back to the room. You're like, but I'm still in a good school corporation, but I hate to see so many teachers get bashed, just because, take Chicago and they judge everybody by what's happening with some teachers unions. There's so many good teachers out there, every town. You mentioned your wife, and we have a lot of heroes right here that aren't coaches, that aren't well known, and they've been not punching the clock, but just, making a difference in kids' lives. I mean, how many jobs could you have where you literally, good or bad, have impacted thousands just in the classroom? After you take last year I had 180 kids directly in my 6 classes. Take that times 41. I teach juniors or U.S. history, but that's a lot of people, good or bad. But not many people get to live a life where you even make contact with that many people. Does that make sense? So I've never taken the teaching part light. I may not be the greatest teacher, but you know what I'm saying? I get after it. I've been the department head for, I don't even know, 25, 30 years. And I love it, but I think they want me out because I think you can hire 3 teachers now for what I'm making. So
how are you mentoring the new teachers? Because it is a different landscape. How are you mentoring them?
Yeah, the biggest thing we tell them is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to be wrong, but admit it. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to lie to kids. Don't tell them, I've taught something and then doing a little research turns out, and actually that wasn't, I'll tell them. I said, here, first time since 91, but I was wrong. You have to be human. And I think some of these kids come out. I remember when I went through my student teaching or the training before I left IU, and the people getting the A's did the perfect notebook and cut out. all the little, binders and pasted, made it real pretty, and then got blown away in her student teaching and never taught again. Or, you have to be prepared for anything. That's the beauty of teaching. But the fact that you got to just have a daily goal. What do you want to get through? And the biggest thing to me is you got to believe they're listening, even though they give you no indication whatsoever that they're listening, because they come back to you later if you get to teach long enough and say, you were right when you said this. And you've had these moments, I'm sure, with your own kids. My dad used to say, that's it. That's what you remember, all the things I taught you. And you know what I'm saying? But that's the way kids are. They are listening. They just don't show it sometimes.
Do you think the phone's done that to this generation where they're scared to make mistakes? Because I view that as like the culture of the phone is like somebody could take a video of you or you post something online and it might come back 20 years. I think it's created some scared human beings because people think that if they do make a mistake, it's going to come back to them at some point.
Well, Ryan, that's why I don't dance at weddings anymore, even out of town. I'm what I call a headphone dancer, where you look and you go, that guy must have his headphones listen to a different song than what the band is playing. But I like it. Well, I don't do it anymore because everybody has a phone. And then you could have one half a beer that night and you were hammered and you were, and for some reason, teachers and coaches are held. You could be the CEO of a major corporation. You're cutting loose in most cases, but not an educator, not a baseball coach. If, you carry a title far greater, anything you do impacts, even has nothing to do with the school or the program. Anything I do reflects on that. Does that make sense? And that's something that's not easy. But I came back. I was going to retire about 2 years ago, and we got rid of the phones. You could not have it from 8 to 3. We had a principal let them happen in the hallway. Communication ended. Zilch. You look in your room from the hallway, because we're supposed to be both places. We're supposed to monitor the hallway and also control our room. Every kid, 31 of them, just sitting there till the bell. Then they put it in the pocket and get it back out. It's the first thing they check. We got rid of it and their backpacks. And it totally changed the culture of the school. This is the second year. Even the kids, they're still mad about the backpack because they don't want to go to their locker. They want to carry the books. But the phone, even the kids admitted, wow, you see them talking to each other now. Because I always tell them, what's going to be your memory? I can remember stuff from, I'm not going to name the names, but something happened with this kid or that kid, and they have none. They're just locked in, texting away, and it's been beautiful. You see kids in the hallway. You see kids talking to each other, laughing, looking at each other. It's been great.
Love it. How special is it that the Indiana State Championship's still North versus South?
Yeah, I guess I take things for granted. Everybody makes the tournament in Indiana. That doesn't happen everywhere. It's single elimination. We won a couple that we would never have won if it was a double elimination, and you're saying grab the trophy and get out of here before they figure this out. But it is a thing. It's, what our conference this year had 3 out of the 4, right? Evansville Mater Dei, Evansville North, and Jasper Wildcats were up there. And unfortunately, it did not go our way this year. So when you go to the All-Star Series, it's North versus South. There's pride in that. We swept up the North, by the way, again, if you want to know. But when you're talking and hanging out, it's viewed as South versus North. And so this year, the North had better baseball. I just think it's the way it should be. I really like it.
What does this mean going into the ABCA Hall of Fame?
I got the call. I didn't answer it the first 2 times, and then because I just figured, is you want money or something? No, I just thought it was a wrong number, spam. Why would anybody from? And then they left a message, just to call or reach back or whatever. And I was alone, and I don't cry much, but I actually started crying because I never even thought about it. I'm not one of those humble. What I don't. Never even thought about it, Ryan, if that makes sense, because ABCA, and I mean this with all due respect, years ago, we just thought of college baseball, and they were kind enough to open it up. High school guys could go. We used to have it, during the lunch, 2 or 3 high school guys. I believe I'm right on that. I'd go to different conferences, and it was great. And I have been to that banquet. I've gone from every time I go to a clinic, I go to that banquet. I always buy 2. My son doesn't usually want to go. and I go and I just stay for that. I could give you, if you need the times, I time every speech, the Indiana High School Hall of Fame banquet and the ABCA. And I just watch those guys and just think, wow, how cool is that, the impact, and to see the pride they have and, the stories they tell. And so I'm so appreciative, but I feel like I'm just representing not only Jasper, but high school baseball, because there's so many good coaches that, and this through your job, that are just in a pocket somewhere. So I look at it like that, but they said, can't tell anyone. So I didn't tell my wife. So what is it, 6 months later? I didn't tell my son. He knew it before I knew it. He goes, I was waiting if you're going to. Well, what happens? I start getting texts from people.
I saw Nick last year. I went and watched Indiana State play in Greenville. Yeah. So Nick and I were at the hotel, and we were talking about it, about not being able to tell anybody.
Yeah, but I didn't tell Carolyn, my wife. I didn't tell anyone. And when the news came out, I'm like, oh, crap. And so I told my wife, hey, I heard something about it. She goes, nice picture. Why didn't you? That's the best they can do. I go, okay, Ryan, this is terrible. I have in my school email account, I have 22,000 unread emails. I just thought it was spam. They asked for a picture. I didn't. She asked me this morning, see if it's too late to change your picture. I'm like, anyway, I didn't
send
tell
one
her.
On. I don't think we've sent off the proofs yet for the Hall of Fame area.
You'd have to look really hard to
the
find
Legends area. You might want to send one off to me, and I'll get it updated.
Well, I think I have a beer and I'm smoking a cigarette. No, I've never smoked in my life.
Terry, you mentioned that.
I just can't believe it.
Some of it is like, because Andy Noblet got the process going, because Andy, for people that don't know, Andy Noblet was a college teammate of mine at Evansville, and Jasper and Memorial were two really huge rivals. Andy was ahead of me, but Andy reached out, and I'm like, hey, there's a process. I think sometimes it's just people don't know there's a process to nominate people, because with you, I'm like you go through it every year. I'm like, they're not in already. Like, and that's, you're one of those guys where I think people just kind of assume that they're in already, but people haven't done the nomination process.
Yeah. Because I think Jeremy Jones did a lot too. And there were some other guys that lied for me and
stop.
Well, I'm just saying it. You gave me a opportunity of a lifetime on the Barnstormers. But I had Nick, my son, is assistant at Indiana State, and he has given us two grandsons. One of them's only a few months old, and they were coming to the tailgate. I didn't want to miss it. It was a hard thing.
And I told you that, like, life is more important. Yes,
yeah,
it would have been great to have you come speak. But, people know Terry was supposed to speak at the Butler Barnstormers a couple weeks ago, but he had family stuff, and you were like apologizing. I'm like, no, don't apologize.
I thought you're a salesman, and you came at me pretty hard. I was working at the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame Scramble at Sultan's Run, and Coach Howard, runs it. And I'm like, I wanted to tell you. It's like argument with my wife, because you've been aggressive from the day I met you. You and your brother. I used to call your brother the yapper. He would. I can remember going into the state clinic, and you guys were helping your dad. I can't remember the year, but remember Sterling and used to be brewed right there in Evansville.
Oh yeah.
And they had I hope I'm okay telling the story, but they had a bathtub full of Sterling iced down that they donated, to take to the state clinic or whatever. And your brother gave me one of those, and I said, I won't tell you what I actually said, but basically said I'll stick with my Budweiser. But
I don't blame you. That Sterling was awful. Sterling was terrible. My
point is, there's so many people involved in it. And I am not one of those guys that, Lou Holtz it and this and that. I'm humble. I just didn't even understand it. Because I've had some things happen in my life where I had to turn down some opportunities. I hear guys talk about coaching and USA, all kinds of clinics. And that was one of those time periods in my life where, you want to talk about changing your life. I had to choose to stay home, dealing with family a couple different times, and no regrets. But I would have loved to have been more active, and I don't know why I can't be active even as I get older. I see so many people at that clinic that I just enjoy meeting them. I don't even know who they are sometimes, but you can tell, hey, this guy's been coming here for 45 years with his wife. He's my hero. I don't think Carolyn's ever been to one, and it blows me away to hear their story and see what baseball has done in their life. Coach Howard is the same way. It's been his love affair of his life, his wife, his children, but the game of baseball. And there aren't other sports like that. So yeah, I still don't get it. I don't, but
I do.
I feel like I do though. I just feel like I'm representing so many high school, and that's the beautiful thing about this association. What you do now with travel ball, youth, high school, it's a family, and I hope that's a compliment. You get what I'm saying?
And
when
that's
I started,
our biggest
I just
goal.
felt like
that's our biggest goal is to bridge it for everyone. I don't care if it's a big league coach on down to the mom and dad that's trying to figure this thing out for the first time and how to coach a 5-year-old kid. I feel like we have the ability to bridge the gap to the entire baseball community. The entire
I see it, Ryan.
The entire
you go into the vendors area and you see so many families now.
Yes.
And not just coaches' sons, but daughters, and they're looking at equipment or they're joining them for that part. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. I mean, that's just your guys are growing the game like it's unreal. My goal is to get more Indiana coaches involved in it because we do have a strong association and shout out
and
to
great
those
coaches
guys.
Too. Great coaches.
It's the guys that coach baseball in Indiana, the staff we have leading the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association, the work they put in. We work with our association. We're not always happy with the IHSAA, but we re-gear the next year. So we have a good relationship versus, years ago, it seemed like it was all basketball. And we were just kind of an afterthought. And the sport has really grown here thanks to the Coaches Association and what they do.
Why are we seeing some of the fundamental mistakes at every level of baseball? And it's Major League Baseball too. I mean, you can go the first game of the World Series. There's an out made at third on a easy read. That was not a difficult read, whether you go to third on that play or not. Why are we seeing some of the fundamental mistakes? Because it's at the highest level on down.
Well, to me, it's just not emphasized. You spend so much time just playing games. You go out and you play travel and you run around the hotel and you get up. Very few teams are out there or you're going over things. Like I think when we practice, it's all fundamentals. I mean, it's just nothing but fundamentals. Now, it doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but I don't think it's emphasized. And I think it's all about, exit velocity and how many cuts and what's this and what's the read. You have kids now throw a breaking ball and they can't understand, hey, it broke in on his back foot. Perfect. They have to look at an iPad and see what, all the data. We kind of lost just that feel for common sense. We had some freshmen in fall baseball come out and they don't know the basic. And we have a good feeder program, but they don't know the basics. They don't know how to bunt and they never work on it. I say, have you ever bunted? No. How are you 14 years old? You've never bunted in your life. So I think a lot of it is they just spend so much time with games and then individual workouts, and we kind of get away from. And then I think we overcoach it sometimes. You asked me about practice organization. Or could you speak on that? That might have been part of the reason. I'm the guy that got up. We drive up. It's a 2-hour drive to the state finals. And I thought, well, while we're on the bus, I better figure out where we're hitting this afternoon. I didn't have a site for us to even take BP in Indianapolis. You would have had it done 6 weeks before just in case. Yes or no?
No. For
me, it's you weren't that detailed?
Yeah, but I think those are one of those things like you cross that off when you cross that bridge, you come to that. Like I don't like thinking too far ahead. I think you have to plan ahead for certain things. Yeah. If you know there's certainty in those things happening, I do think you have to plan, but I do think you have to build in for some uncertainty too.
I had an idea. I mean, I knew we've gone up before, but I just cringe. I don't have, like when we practice, I don't have a written practice schedule. My staff, I had a couple guys a few years ago go, well, in basketball, I know that morning at 10 what we're doing. I said, and it's going to be 68 degrees or whatever it is in an enclosed gym, and you're going to have it for this time slot, and everybody's going to be there. We don't know. We have a practice plan, and lightning shows up. We're scrambling, and the dance team gets the extra gym, and track and field, which is 9 months away, gets the indoor. You know what I'm saying? You're in the hallway, you're breaking it down. So it's hard to do too detailed. And then I when I coached under Mike Steele in basketball at DePaul, he might have 8 minutes for a drill. Doesn't matter what drill, 11-man drill. And you get it right for 2 minutes straight, and that's it. We just moved on. You can have all the why do 8 minutes of bunting and you still haven't learned anything? So that day we might do 25 minutes of bunting. You know what I'm saying? So I have a plan, but I love these guys. Phil McIntyre, coaching the All-Star game with him. He had everything organized to what inning you're going to coach first and what inning you're going to do this and who's going to hit fungos and what type of fungo. And I just tore it up. I said, just tell me where to go. You know, everybody's so different. That's what makes this game beautiful. We all have different style.
Are you handling first and thirds or bunt coverages any different?
What's that? I'm sorry.
First and third plays or bunt coverages, defensive wise, do you handle those any different now?
No. I don't have anything great. I don't do a wheel play. I don't do, hey, we're going to do this, step off and turn. I tell our kids.
We never did at Memorial either. It was just handle the baseball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They
Getting
crash
out.
Now. They'll crash the second baseman. And, you know, I'm like, I would even tell the other dugout, we're not bunting and somebody's going to get hurt. You know, I'm like, I just found the one thing I tried to be better at. I said, why can't our right-handers be at third base like a lefty is when you're at first? We never, you know what I mean? You tell the kid all the time, you know, don't just step off or they just give that real obvious fake. Why can't you be? And so every year that's my goal. I've not had too many that are good at it, but no, we do the fundamental either first. Is what I've changed on my bunting over the years is first, just stay home. Pitcher be athletic enough, come get the ball. If we are, you know, runner on third, nobody at first, then first can crash and pitcher can cover third. But I got too many big kids over the years that played first and they end up in no man's land. Then my second baseman, and you know, you played time there. That's the hardest.
It's the hardest thing to do to get there.
So we just stay home and say, hey, go ahead and you stay right there. You stay here and you keep him tight. And if they can execute, you can't stop it anyway. So no, we have different stuff, but I'm amazed when we play some teams. I'm like, God, when do they cover it? Yeah. So no, nothing fancy there.
How gratifying is it for you that Nick's still coaching?
Oh, you know what? I got to be careful. First of all, I had 4 daughters and Nick first, 4 daughters, proud of all of them. But to see him get where he's at on his own, like Ryan, I didn't even really help him. He wrote Division I schools, you know, when he was a player. I think I went so overboard not favoring him. I was so hard on him. I mean, you've been there. Correct or not? Yeah,
I think it's a great parenting point, though. I do. I think you handled him very similar to how my dad handled my brother and I, and we all found our way into baseball with being extremely hands off of it for 2 really good, successful head coaches. Were very hands off in the process, and all of their sons found their way into baseball. Yeah,
it's a typical. He's always been around it, and I've never people. How do you get them to love baseball? I've never once. He played 3 sports in high school. You know, he won the male athlete of the year just because he played 3 sports and whatever sport he was in, he loved. But to see him, you know, by the age of 30, be a top assistant at a good Division I program at Indiana State, just so proud of him. I don't people don't understand how hard that is. And Coach Archuleta's, you know, been so good to him, and they're a good team. But yeah, who doesn't love it? You know, I think I had to back away from it. I used to tell him, why don't you come here, be a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, football, great life. They're gone so much. That's the part, you know, it's amazing, the recruiting, and it's not for everyone.
I love
that's
it,
for
though.
sure. But
it's kind of what you mentioned to that teacher a long time ago. If you are not fully immersed in that process and ready to love all of it, do not do it.
You can't fake it. But you got to marry right too, because I mean, Nick's getting married. Haley took a job in Tennessee. Nick volunteered there at a JUCO, top JUCO. Yep. And when you're saying he didn't make money, he didn't make money. He didn't make a dime. He didn't make a penny. He got a used hat, but he put in 80 hours a week and ended up at, you know, out in Iowa at Indian Hills, and they make it to the World Series. And then, you know, it leads to good things, but you've got to marry right, because I know when he met his future in-laws, they're kind of like, okay, you had a job at this amount. Now you're taking this job, you know.
Take the in-laws out of it.
No, but they were awesome.
I mean, that's my tip too with that too, like, because obviously they want what's best for their daughters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They
as the head of your household, you have to do what you feel like is best for the family, whether they get it or not. At that point, they're probably going to get it at some point. But I think that's the toughest thing with being married, having kids in our profession is you are going to have to make some decisions that people that aren't in that culture have no idea what you're doing or why you would make those decisions.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like being in the stock market. It's a slow burn.
Well, two of my daughters graduated from University of Southern Indiana. Commencement's on the day of our Hall of Fame tournament. We had 4 games, hosting 4 games that day, playing in 2. I'm not going to be at commencement. I talked to them. What people don't know is I got up at 5:30 in the morning and met him for breakfast down in Evansville, and gave him a note and told him how much I love him and proud of him, and came back. But I told all my daughters, I don't want to get ready to walk you down the aisle one day and then you drop on me. You love baseball more. You were gone this, and this. I missed the ABCA clinic because Laura's birthday is the 4th, and a lot of times be on the 4th. And when she was little, what kid doesn't want their dad there? So I didn't go. And it's not a problem. You know what I'm saying? She didn't keep me from anything. It was a choice I made, and probably doesn't even know that. But you do have to balance it, and you have to understand it, because it's crazy. Because I tell our parents at our preseason meeting, I say, you have 1 or 3 teenagers, boys, we got 48 or whatever we're carrying that year. It can be overwhelming, but it is really cool that Nick, his passion for baseball, he doesn't ever have to do it. He doesn't have to worry about what job he takes or what type. It's whatever he wants to do. But it is a unique bond. And then, he was raised old school, and he's had to learn a lot of new school. And that's
a good thing too, though.
Well,
I think to have that basis of what this is, I went through the same thing. You have this basis of what this style looks like, and then you have to eventually evolve and find your own style with the ever-evolving generation of players that you're coaching, but also the baseball industry is always evolving. I think that's just part of evolving with the baseball industry, with the players, with the new technology that's out there. I think that's just part of it. And you're a great example of evolving over time too, because you're a continual learner. You learn. You're a lifelong learner. You always are trying to get better. Yes, there's some things you've probably kept over the years. There's a lot of things that you've adjusted to over the years as well.
Yeah, you have to. But, before the state championship game, our opponents got every kind of, program there is. And they asked me about our kids' spin rate. And I said, there was some reporters, and I said, I usually can see the first 3 or 4 rotations. After that, I lose track. And they thought I was joking, but I couldn't tell you what a good spin rate is, but I know that's a good breaking ball. It's not. Somebody asked, well, how fast is your leadoff? Well, he's faster than that big kid here, and that's why he bats leadoff. But what's it matter unless I'm trying to place him? But the biggest thing I would tell any coach, all that stuff matters, but don't forget about heart. I'll give you an example. Nick is the slowest man in America. He'd probably be playing right now. But he goes to USI, and he works on his Dayton. He went and he worked on his training, his running. And his junior or senior year at USI, I think he was number 2 in doubles in Division II in the nation. And he was the 8th fastest guy. There's always a catcher in that 9 spot, but in the lineup. And it was just from hard work, discipline. That's why I'm proud of him. And sometimes guys don't measure that, or they'll say, why didn't you tell me about this kid? Well, you want somebody that's going to come through, right? You want someone that's dedicated or has good habits. So I think we've had a lot of kids do well that maybe were a surprise. I probably don't promote them as enough. But, as a high school wanting to play in college. But, Ryan, a lot of our guys come to me and say, are you okay if I don't play in college? I'm like, it's a job. You know better than I do. I only watch my son go through it. But
it's a lifestyle.
These kids, and it doesn't matter what level.
I think we have too many kids that are playing for not the right reasons.
Dad.
Because mom and dad spent all this money for me to continue to play. And this has been the ultimate goal for my family, and not for me as a human being or what my true interests are. I think we see a lot more of that than we are that kids, and it's not just in baseball, it's in every college sport. It's the men's and women's side of it. Is you have kids that really don't have any identity of who they truly are, and is this what you actually want for yourself? I just think a lot of kids go into it because it's what they've always done and not because this is the lifestyle of what it's going to actually look like. And I do feel like that's why we have a lot of depression issues with college athletes. It's because they have no idea why they got into it.
Yeah, I can remember back in the 90s, we had a heck of a stretch in the late 90s. And I'd be talking to a dad, and he's like, I hope he doesn't play, but college baseball. And I talk to the son, oh, I think I have to because my mom and dad want me to. And I'm like, do you guys ever talk? Now that I had kids, I get it better. But it's the same thing when I was young. I talked to the wives, and they'd be complaining about their husband. I talked to the husband in another room, they're complaining about. I'm like, you two ever get together? And that's really what. Like I had a kid come to me, and he walked on a Division I school, and they wanted to keep him. He wouldn't have money. This is years ago, different scholarship. And he was in tears, and he wanted to be an engineer. And he said, will you be upset if I don't play? I said, I think you're crazy if you do play. I said, if you love it and want to do that, go for it, because you could do it. But no, there's no value to me. What some of my best favorite players hardly played. They weren't the best player, the one everybody names. They were just kids that worked hard, went from being a 150 hitter to a 280 that could put the ball in play and had passion, loved to play. We all have to quit playing at some point. It's usually for most of it's sooner than we want, but that's the beauty of this game. At some point, everybody has to, take that uniform off, quit playing. That's the beauty of coaching. I mean, there's times I'm sitting there before Victory Field last year. We probably brought, we brought 7,000 fans up. We have 17,000 total. And we're getting ready. We played the year after COVID, and they estimate almost 9,000 people. They just opened Victory Field. It's supposed to be half. But here's my point. I'm getting ready for a game wearing a uniform at 63, 64 years of age. Who gets to do that? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. In fact, I argue with my basketball buddies in football. They should have to dress out.
That would be awesome.
Should stand on the sideline with gear on. Because it does make you work out a little bit in the winter, a little harder, but that's just the beauty of it. I mean, you stand out there and you dictate so much of the game. It's just overwhelming. But once the game goes, you want kids to be able to just take what you taught them and go. It's kind of like raising kids. You let them go and you go, oh my God. When you coached, did you have this feeling? Say it's the tournament, national anthems finishing up. Oh my God, did we cover this? Are they prepared? It flashes. I don't dwell on it, but it would go through my head every game. Like, oh my God, I hope I got these guys ready.
No, I knew we covered it, and that was part of the trust process of the players. Now, if we did not execute something in games, then I was upset because then I felt like it was my fault that we didn't cover that. It was always post-game for me. It wasn't pre-game. It was post-game.
Yeah, we host so many games in a tournament that you're focusing on.
But you've also gotten there too.
But you get what I'm saying? All these things have been in your mind. But let me tell you, my greatest anthem memory is Nick is in uniform. He's not. If he's 5, I'm standing next to me, and he's singing the national anthem. And he says, Babe Ruth through the night. I think it's Gabe Proof through the night. Every time I've coached 2,000 games, probably summer ball, when Gabe Proof, I have that just pops in my head every time. And I just kind of grin inside. But he goes, "What?" That's what when it was over. He goes, "That's what the song says." So it's Babe Ruth through the night. In case you ever see Nick, just have a couple beers with him and then sing that line.
You mentioned COVID maybe being a fail forward moment. Do you have another fail forward moment?
Yeah, I do. That's one I just want to mention. In 96, our second child, Sarah's born. We win the state, all right? 407 teams back then, single class. The next year, single class again, we win it again. And we're the only team ever to win back-to-back in Indiana baseball in the whole history. And then Sarah is diagnosed with leukemia. She fights it for 13 months, all right? Couple bone marrow transplants next to donor, every time looking good. In the 98 season, my wife and I made the decision, let's keep coaching, keep doing it. This is our life. This is what she loves. And she does make it, okay? I'm not trying to ask for sympathy or bum anyone out. It's just life. When you have a child die in your arms after a fight like that, we told her, you go. You've done your job. How do you get upset about arguments over playing time? How do you get upset about anything? All you want to do is treat kids right. So if I ever had a parent have a good point where I did somebody wrong, I would listen. That would devastate me. The rest of it, Ryan, my whole point is you learn how precious life is. You realize these are people, not baseball players. My mom used to tell me when I was single, I'd say, this kid is, blah, blah, blah. My mom would go, they wouldn't trade that child for all the money in the world. And I'm like, well, they're stupid. I'd tell him and then you learn. And so my point was, Sarah, that was devastating, but it's made me a better dad, made me a better person, made me a better coach. I would hope a better husband. And then you take baseball wise, 91, 92 was mine the last time. Were you one and was Memorial 1 and we were 2, or was it the other way around?
We beat Rolen in the semi-state in 92.
92, but one of us was ranked 1.
And yeah, we were 1. We went like back-to-back years of being ranked nationally. I think 93 we were in the top 25 USA Today, but it all runs together. All I know is
but that game in 92
the semi-state.
We had the lead. Dobby hit a bases loaded double.
Electric atmosphere too. You mentioned about the stands. There was people. It was 6 rows deep around the entire stadium.
BP. We let teams,
and the game was on television. People think I'm nuts. I'm like, no, our high school games were on television in the early 90s.
Yeah, Darren, can't think of his name, did the game. Yeah. I got part of that on videotape. I'll update. So
does Andy Noblet. Andy Noblet's good with keeping the videotapes and the CDs.
In that game, we were counting. There was at least 13 guys went on to play high-level baseball between the two teams, including Division I, professional, and everything else. All right, we lost a heartbreaker to you guys, and you made me mad, believe it or not, because you didn't win it. I'd rather the team go on to win, but that's
broke
a whole
my
other
heart
discussion.
Too.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. I'm one of those. Okay, but I watched my kids. Nobody pulled their jersey out over their head. Nobody flopped around on the ground. My catcher sat for a minute, disappointed, whatever. And then we men. And so, okay, this all goes back a year, 91. I found out my shortstop has been ineligible for a math paper back then. That teacher said, he turned it in, took care of it, it's fine. Well, it ended up not being quality work, so he's been ineligible. So we're 0-16. Everybody thinks we were 16-0. We were 8-8, 91. Now we're 0-16. I meet with 2 seniors. The one just says, Seidel, who went on to play at USI. I won't use the words, but simple man. The other guy, Jay Hamlin, sounded like he goes, well, on the one hand, we can turn this into a beneficial situation, blah, blah, blah. I go, you need to run for office someday. So we're 0-16, and we go to the state finals. So we're 17-16 in the state finals. But here's the whole point of this. Every kid said in the interviews, I have Rolen on tape, he goes, once we were 0-16, the pressure was off. Every kid, the pressure was off. I didn't know there was any pressure, Ryan. I just coached the only way I knew how, and that was, pedal to the floor. That, to me, was my biggest moment as far as coaching, to realize that it's supposed to be fun. Because I have down for you, our program, to me, I had a sign forever. It says, are you having fun? Are they having fun is what it actually said. But I took it for me, too. That was my number one goal. I wanted a kid, when he's done playing at Jasper High School, I'm glad I played. Whether it worked out great, whether we won a state, whether we didn't. Here's what we're built on. And coaches laugh. 3 fundamentals. Give them 3 outs or less. Now, people accuse me that you cheat. No, and you know what I mean by this. You don't bobble the ball. You should have had 2, you get 2, because it's going to come back to bite you. Second rule is use all 3 outs. Don't get doubled up. Don't shorten an inning for the opponent. Third one, put the ball in play. You do that, you're going to win 85% of your games at the high school level. Trust me. And the other thing that turned my career around is I wasn't a pitching guy. I got banned when I was 12 because I hit too many guys in Little League. And I never pitched beyond that. And we were getting beat in our own tournament during the season, not the state tournament. And the kid said, I think with the talent we got, we're doing all right. We had 13 errors that day and walked a dozen guys, whatever. So I came up with a new rule. If a guy gets on base by a walk, the whole team runs a mile. Now, have you ever been around a baseball team that likes running miles? Nobody does, not even the sprinter, right? So we were running, and we're up to like 20, 30 miles. So then we say, okay, a shutout takes away a mile. Errorless game takes away a mile. Because I got to live up to my word, but we got to have the energy to play. So we fast forward to that really good group I had, that 92 group with Knobs and Kevin Werner's at second base. We have a big lead, but the bases are loaded. I said, turn 2 up the middle. We're going to give up the run, right? There's no outs, bases loaded, turn 2 up the middle. They hit a ball to Werner at second. He doesn't throw 2. It's a double play. Throws to home. We get the 1 out. I said 2 up the middle. He said, yeah, that guy on third got on by a walk, and I'm sick of, I ain't running another mile. That's what he said. That's when you know it's working. Does that make sense? That's when you say. So I would say the fact of putting pressure in 91 and learning as a coach, because our record, it was fine, but we weren't that good those 4 years I coached, taught me a lesson I never forgot, that it's still a game. They got to have fun, and it's pressure unless you explain to them. So the best thing I've done since then, according to Knobs, is I try to walk through, here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a game of runs. You're going to have momentum. You're going to run some momentum. You're going to have a lead. They may have a lead. You have to have the courage to stand up. Okay, this is one of these moments. This is what Coach talked about. Somebody's got to make a play. And I think that's helped us a lot. But we really are that simple. We don't have, like, our seniors go get the batting cage just like a freshman might. I never do any of that. And if you want to hear it, I can tell you why. If you forget your cleats in our program, somebody else plays. You don't borrow cleats. You forget your jersey. Jared Brosber, who's our team doctor, chiropractor, he forgot his cleats at Jeffersonville. There were no one in the state, but his mom went to Kmart, bought him some rubber spikes, and he pitched a 2-hit shutout. So if you have something there, you can play, right? But when I was a player in football, I was a sophomore, fullback. And number one was hurt. The next guy forgot his pants, game pants, right before the game. Coach comes up and he said, you hear, I won't say his name, but Billy forgot his pants. I said, yes, sir. I'm going to take the nod, right? I'm starting at fullback. He goes, you're about his size. Give him yours. And I literally was crying. I'm not afraid. I mean, literally, I've never felt more worthless in my life as a player, as a person. And so you learn stuff like that and say, bingo, got it. I mean, that's the way we do it. I just never forgot that feeling. So I don't ever want to tell a kid, hey, give him your jersey. Brock Little, in our cleanup hitter in 2006, going for the state championship game, I guess, forgot his jersey in the hotel, but he got his mom to break into the room and bring it. Because I don't know, on that one, I might have said, here, wear my jersey. Your 4-hole hitter for the state. But those are the kind of things I think if you hang with it, you don't have to have a great record. You have to be consistent and you have to be prepared to do it. But those simple rules for us, people sometimes are blown away because they assume we have. I don't have anything in writing. I don't
love it.
We don't have any rules in writing. If you're late, you run a mile for every minute you're late. Bad news is, Ryan, you have to run it during practice. So then you're missing practice. So you can never make it up. And it's just never been an issue.
Love it. What are some final thoughts before I let you go?
Just want to thank everybody. It starts with family. Just absolutely our children, Nick, Sarah, Maria, Laura, Julia, my wife, Carolyn, for allowing me to do this. It's a we thing. The smartest thing I ever did is when I gave Carolyn the reins and said she took over the concession stand. Worst thing about that, Ryan, is going to bed every night hearing you need more hot dogs. I wanted somebody else, but smartest move I ever made. And it's kind of cool to sleep with the concession lady too sometimes, Also, Dan Sherry, my first assistant, and went on to be superintendent's son, a heck of a player at U of E. Jason Albrand was with me 25 years. He was a 3-sport athlete. So I've been with Jason in baseball for 28 years, 3 as a player. Then Andy Noblet, Mark Giesler, Brandon Pear, Jeff Sink, Brian Kirchhoff, Jason Stamm, all helping now. But so many guys over the years, and it just is real simple. I just been fortunate. We're so simple. Sometimes it's scary, but I'm so lucky to be in a community that, you look at what our kids have. We didn't have any of that before. I could speak at a clinic. Everybody, well, yeah, you got all that given. No, we went out and got the field house. Scott Rolen didn't buy the field house. He went and looked at him with me. He helped me, but we didn't go to him. I've never gone to him and asked for a donation ever. I tell young coaches, when you have the simplest field, we were playing somewhere and the guy goes, well, I'm sorry, it looks like this, but I'm not like you guys. We don't have the city take care of it. I go, you got 30 kids over there that could pick up these weeds. And so we literally, and some people don't like it, but if we go on the road and there's weeds around our dugouts, our kids will just pick them up without me even saying anything. They're like, Coach, and somebody said, oh, that's kind of brash. And I'm like, well, we didn't mean it disrespectfully, but it's not that hard. It doesn't take money. And the last thing, Coach Schreiber was a legend here. Ken Schreiber at LaPorte, 7 state titles. He saved me so many times he kept telling me, your best team, we got beat by you guys in 92. And I said, Rolen was our number 5 pitcher, throwing like 86, 7. I said, I'll never have that kind of talented group. He goes, Terry, you'll have a team win. It'll be the team you least suspected. All right. And that other fail forward to be 95 after we got beat. We walked a guy, tried to pick him off like 7 times in a row. We threw it down the right field line. We balk him in. We got beat. Sitting in the dugout with Phil Kendall, and we're both crying. And he says, we're coming back. We're going to win. This is I'm thinking that's a lot to ask of a kid. Don't worry about it. He comes back and he's throwing. He went from 86, 87, 93, 94, hit 13 bombs, drove in almost 50 runs. We just put a saddle on him and we won. And I learned a valuable lesson. I've never gone up there anymore intimidated because you're nervous. I mean, I don't care what you say. So just saying we're such a simple program, but it's been such a big part of our life. And that was the smartest thing I ever did, is including my family. I had to skip a few things personally. It doesn't matter. But once my family became involved, it wasn't pulling us away. Carolyn does awards at the end of the year, or, it's just a huge part. All my kids have done everything. They've run the scoreboard, the concession stand. They know how to put it. My girls know how to tarp a field and take it off right before a storm. And I've just been very fortunate. So I can't thank you guys enough, what you do. I know I talk too much, but what the ABCA does, what they stand for, that's why I'm really proud about this. It's not a numbers thing, but I hope I make it very clear how special it is to just the whole community, but also Indiana baseball, I think, is being represented by you guys, the committee putting me in, but it's really just a statement about how good Indiana baseball is.
Terry, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Love you very much.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.